But I think the main things is at the end of the day, volleyball is volleyball. It's in the same 9x9 court, and the rules are the same. So we. Is that on the back of your shirt?
Yeah, it's on the back of the shirt.
You did. A little free shout out for you. And it doesn't matter who's on the other side of the net. You need to still execute to the best of your ability if you want a chance to win.
That's right, Brett Walsh. The court is 9x9. This is the 9x9, and it is our 1 year anniversary, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, 1 year later,
woohoo,
to the best 81 square meters of volleyball content you can find on the internet around the world, in Mars, Venus, wherever you are. This is the place to be. 1 year ago, tomorrow, technically, on November 9th, it was our first ever show. As always, my name is Everett Delorme, joined by the one, the only, live from Chicago, the voice of the FIVB, or at least should be, Mr. Rob St. Clair. And Rob, first and foremost, thank you very much for being my partner on this journey. It's been fantastic. We had a little chat earlier today about how it has gone essentially better than either of us could have imagined. And so I will say cheers to that for my water in my red Solo cup.
Yes, of course.
Water.
Clearly water. Cheers to you, my friend. I love you. I love the work that we've done this year. I love this show, and I love all of you watching.
Absolutely. It has been 1 year, a lot of fun times. We've got a nice little something for you guys to check out at the end of it. But before that, we just wanted to thank you guys for coming along, depending on when you started. If you've been here since the beginning, well, we thank you. You're a true OG. But if you joined last week was the first time and you're coming back again, then we salute you as well. It's been a long journey, and it's just the beginning.
Yeah, we've had a great year. I mean, 42. This is episode 42, and that's just like of normal episodes. That doesn't include all the shows from VNL in Ottawa. It doesn't include all the World Championships coverage, men and women. We've done a lot. We've done a lot this year, and I love the growth of the show, and I love the people who watch it. And if you like the show and you haven't already joined the Volleyball Source Discord, get in there, because that is really who the show was created for at the very beginning, and it's just snowballed and picked up fans across the volleyball world ever since. So we love you guys. We love that you watch the show. We hope that you enjoy the little tribute video that we put together at the very end. But Everett, there's still a lot that we have to jump into. The volleyball world never sleeps, and there's big news.
It's been a busy week in volleyball, but yeah, there's been some big news for sure.
And let's just start off with some news very close to home in North America, especially for Canadians. A couple weeks ago, we on the show broke the news that Volleyball Canada dismissed Ben Josephson as the head men's coach. They have found his replacement, and it is none other than Tuomas Salmelvuo, a very surprising hire. Volleyball Canada has gone foreign. They have brought in Finnish coach Tuomas Salmelvuo, most recently with the Russian men's national team, currently coaching club in Zaksa Kozle in the PlusLiga. This is a big, big hire. When this came out, I was shocked that Volleyball Canada could afford Mr. Salmelvuo, given his resume. But Everett, being the Canadian in the group here, the voice of Canadian volleyball, I think it's very safe to say. Tell me your thoughts on this hire. First of all, he's not Canadian, and he is probably a little bit expensive. Is this a Band-Aid fix until Canada can find something a little more permanent, or is this the guy, do you think, going forward towards the Paris qualification and beyond?
I mean, if he's not the guy towards Paris, like, I give up. Like, put a USA jersey on me and I give up, because there's no way that we should be going through that many coaches. Ultimately, I'm not sure. I mean, first and foremost, my thoughts on Salmelvuo as a coach are, I've always enjoyed him. I've always respected him. He works with some of the best teams in the world. I mean, right now he's coaching Zaksa, the two-time defending Champions League champions, and that's some big shoes to fill. So obviously, I think that he has that international pedigree, obviously coming from the Russian national team. I mean, let's be honest here. It's kind of a best case scenario for Volleyball Canada, the fact that he was coaching for a team that essentially got disbanded from international play. So if he wanted to coach internationally, there wasn't many opportunities and really not that many jobs available. So it makes sense there. part of me wants to credit Volleyball Canada for this, but the other part of me knows that this is just Glenn Hogue pulling some strings and asking a favor from one of his friends. I mean, we saw it from if you just slid the post over for Volleyball Canada, it was a post of Hogue and Samuel Vuo sitting arm in arm. I mean, this is a guy who's played in Canada multiple times, and has a lot of respect for Glenn Hogue and vice versa. And ultimately, I do think this is a good hire. It's the best case scenario. I think everyone here knows what I would have preferred for my best case scenario, but that's obviously not possible for whatever reason. I don't really want to get into it, but since my number one choice can't be there, I think Samuel Vuo is a good choice. I do have a few reservations. First and foremost, like, this is a guy who's going to be coming in completely blind to the Canadian system.
True.
The completely blind to how guys are brought up. And this isn't a guy who has the rapport that Antigua had with Glenn. Like, these guys have been competitors, and there's a lot of respect as far as my knowledge. Of course, this is all speculation, but Glenn and Antigua had that experience working together, whereas Samuel Vuo and Glenn haven't. My second reservation is when push comes to shove, what happens, right? If things get too complicated, what happens? Like you mentioned at the outtake, can Volleyball Canada afford him? I'm not entirely sure, right? But he's still going to be coaching for Zaxa. He's not going to be giving up that role. So what happens if push comes to shove, right? We saw what happened with Antigua 2 years, and after that he was gone and he couldn't do it anymore. We saw what happened with Tom Black 1 year with the women's team and he couldn't do it anymore. And then we saw what happened before that with the women's team with Marcello Abodanza and how he came in and it was a completely wrong fit for the culture and he just didn't understand Canadian volleyball culture. So there's a huge question mark for me in terms of that. Now, does he know the international game? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, our athletes aren't going to be any different, right? It's still going to be the same guys out there. Now, Mars looks fantastic this year. So has Lepke. Things are looking like they're right in the ship, and everyone's going to have a little bit more of experience next year. So, like, I think there's positivity there. Third of all, though, and most importantly, is this, like you mentioned, is this the Band-Aid guy who's just going to get you to Paris and then we're going to go look further? Or is this the guy that's looking towards the long term? And if he's looking towards the long term, I just look at his track record with Finland. This is a guy who took over the Finnish national team in 2013, and Finland was a team. Like, they were a team playing World League. They were a team at the European Championships. They were a team at World Championships. Where was Finland in 2019 when he left them? Right now they're ranked 41st.
They're brutal, and you're absolutely right. Finland used to be good.
Finland used to, when he was playing, and we've got Finnish guys in the chat who remind us at the time Finland was good. And now this is like pure speculation. I know nothing about what was going on in the scenes, like behind the scenes. Was he working with recruitment and development of the younger age group? Like, how does that work, right? But it's there on his resume and within his home country, a system that he went from being the captain to the head coach pretty much like seamlessly. And he brought them from being, a top 15 team in the world, and now they're ranked 41st. You can't tell me that fall happened from 2019 to now. Like, it was starting from then. So that's a huge potentially red flag for me if this is someone that we would look to building towards the future. But ultimately, like, let's be honest, he's a guy who knows the international game, and he's a well-respected coach. We've seen guys like Stephen Marr and Riley Barnes post about how they're stoked about having him. But to me, I do think that this is a Band-Aid, and come 3 years after Paris, whether we qualify or not, I we'll see what happens. Let's say ultimately, I'm very excited. You know what? The pretty girl at the dance wants to dance with me right now, and I'm going to enjoy it as much as I can. But I'm in the back of my head, I was like, okay, when's the other foot going to drop?
I think that's a very good, both optimistic and very realistic outlook on this hire. It is by far the best Volleyball Canada could have done at the time, given the situation. And I do think that Samuel Vuo will get the best out of what he has in the Canadian gym. And if there was any hope at Canada getting to Paris at this point, I think this is a pretty good guy to get you there. But past that, like you said, I think are really where some of those concerns start to come in about building the program long term, and about the not being a Canadian guy and understanding both Canadian and just generally North American sport development and the volleyball systems and the resources that he's used to, he will not have, especially coming from the Russian system of all places. So I'm really curious to see how that goes and if he hangs on after the 2024 Olympic cycle. But to get Canada there, I think it's a pretty good move, and I'm very interested to see how much he is able to get out of what the Volleyball Canada program has right now. So we will see. But like you said, he's jumping in. He's going to be jumping in blind in like May, right after Zaxa's season ends, and going to have a quick turnaround towards VNL. So we'll have a lot of time to talk to the Canadian guys behind the scenes and kind of see what's going on. But yeah, we wanted to get that talked about first because it's a very big hire. Shall we move on to real volleyball going on around the world, Everett?
Yeah, I think so. I do think that we should maybe reach out to Almost and see if he wants to have a little chat, just see what he's about. You know, I'm all about, like, don't get me wrong, like Benjo's my guy. I thought he was the guy for a number of reasons. I've already gone over it, but I am very excited about Samuel Vuo. His resume precedes him, and he's someone I respect highly in the volleyball world. So if I get a chance to chat with him and just to pick his brain before he dons the maple leaf, I think we're going to do that. So we'll reach out to him, him and see if he wants to chat, because
friend of the show, Eric Shoji, happens to play for him right now. So
yes, absolutely. So let's get that. Actually, can we get Shoji in? I know you did the little Champions League, but I'd like to chat with him. You know, a little podcast. See how he's doing.
Would be great. That can be arranged. So let's move on to volleyball going on in Europe. We got a lot to catch up on. Let's take a look at I think it's fair to call it our favorite league in the world, the Italian SuperLega. It's the best men's league in the world for sure. It's my personal favorite league to follow because this year, as we've said, it is chaos.
A little less this weekend.
Things returned to order just a little bit this weekend, but I mean, other than Perugia at the top, I mean, you can take a look at the standings right there. There it is, really, really, really tight. Even from like 2 to 12, it's tight. And
two, yeah. I mean, hell, even 2 to 12.
Siena got a match canceled. Siena versus Padova was supposed to be on Saturday, and it got postponed to December. I'm not exactly sure why. So maybe Siena makes it even tighter.
I'm joking.
I hope it wasn't COVID.
I'm joking.
Don't scare me like that.
Don't
all
want to
this time later. Yeah, we're not going down that rabbit hole again. But here are the standings. Let's jump into some of the matches. I want to spend very little time on this. Perugia beat Milano 3-0. They didn't need they didn't need Wilfredo Leone. He banged his head at the end of the Super Cup. Didn't need him. Still won 3-0. No problem. Moving right along. I think that's enough for that. This was the only non 3-0 match of the weekend, and it was Lubic Ivanova beating Verona 3-1. Now, when Verona came out in the first set and they made that statement 25-16, I reeled back in my seat a little bit and like, oh my God, is Verona going to do this again? Unfortunately, no, they cannot sustain it. Lube pretty convincingly won the rest of the match.
Lube's serving strategy was all over the place. There wasn't much of serving strategy in the first set. Set number 2, all into Murray Keita.
Yep.
But once again, you've got what's-his-face, Stoichev. You're going to start Keita and then bring Gord Perrin in late. Start Keita, bring Gord Perrin in late. If you leave Gord in there the amount of time, and yes, this is a homer call, absolutely, but Gord is going to pass the ball for you, and he plays defense, right? And that's what happened in every single set. They'd bring in Keita, he'd get served off the court, they'd bring in Gord, and they play catch up. You have Rock Mozic, who led the league in scoring last year, and a 7-foot right side dude who no one can stop on the right side. 7'4" right side of the dude. Just let Gord and Gagini, I can't.
Gagini is the libero's name. Yeah.
Good.
I agree with you. You're really sacrificing way too much in serve reception without Gord Perrin in there. I don't know why you brought him in if you're going to sit him on the bench with that sort of veteran experience. He's exactly what a team needs against a serving team like Lubic Ivanova, and I want to give them a lot of credit. I, as an American fan, am so stoked about Gabby Garcia Fernandez.
That just makes me sick, to be honest.
Goodness.
Just more colonialism against Puerto Rico.
Gabby looks so good. He had 5 aces this match, including one to win the match in the 4th set. He looks gnarly. He is
19 for 32.
19 for 32 and 2 blocks. He deserves to be playing over Ivan Zaitsev right now. He looks like, at the very least, a top half opposite in the league, if not top 5, top 3. He looks awesome, and I cannot wait until March 2024 when he can actually put on a USA jersey.
Kind of just makes me sick, but yeah, he's so good. He's so good. And he's really coming to his own. Like Zaitsev is barely even sniffing in the court, and but on the other side of the thing, Nikolov in this one, 18 for 30, no unforced errors, only blocked twice, got 2 blocks and an ace. He was really good, and I thought he had kind of hit his peak and we were just going to kind of see him fade to the bench and kind of bide his time and figure some things out. But he is not wasting any time out there, and he's still going for it.
Yeah, Lube's got a nice little flex situation with their 3 outside hitters because Mattia Botolo in this one was not good at all. 1 for 6 with 4 errors. That's brutal. And so they bring in Marlon Yant, which of course you can bring in one of the best young prospects in the world off the bench as he continues to try and get more consistently healthy. You then have a little bit of a foreigner issue at that point. So they had to bench Bartolome Ciniese in the middle, bring in Enrico Diamantini to have enough Italians. So you would rather Yant come in for Nikolov if necessary than Botolo because he's Italian. But when Nikolov goes 18 for 30 and Garcia goes 19 for 32, you're going to win a lot of matches that way. Just straight up. And those 2 kids, I mean, Nikolov's 18, Garcia's 23. Like, how could you? And then Yant, when he comes in, goes 6 for 10. How could you ask any more from your young prospects in what was supposed to kind of be a rebuilding year for Lube? Just awesome stuff from these young studs.
Yeah, 100%. Like Nikolov is just looking so good. He's so smooth. Like we got to see him in Ottawa, and it was a fantastic.
Enough about him.
Absolutely, just the way he plays the game, the way he reads the game, the way he moves on the court, and the way he bounced back because he's had some rough outings. But to see him perform the way he did was really, really good. But yeah, on the Lube side of things, I think they're starting to figure it out and think they're starting to work with this team. And I don't know, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I know I'm changing my tune kind of like 180 from last week when I was like W2F, who are they? But yeah, this was a good outing by them.
Yeah, I think it was too. And it's not like Verona was very far off from winning this match. I mean, they lost in overtime in sets 2 and 4. Their attacking numbers were unreal. 56% kills as a team and 8 aces to only 16 errors. They're numerically pretty darn good. I think serve reception needs just a little bit of work, and then just to be the clutch team late in games, which Lube was able to do this time. So this is the most competitive match this weekend for sure, and I enjoyed watching it. I think we should move on to this one. Modena 3-0 Cisterna, 25-15, 25-19, 25-20. A clinic that I had the pleasure of commentating. This was a nice way to start Sunday morning, get up a nice little hour in a shower. I actually went back to bed before waking up and watching more volleyball.
Beautiful.
That was
beautiful. That's the best case scenario.
Wake up, commentate, go back to bed, wake up again, watch more sports the rest of the day. So good. Anyway, Everett, we had great reception in the Discord about our new game. We're going to have a new segment called Guess This Stat Line. All right. Who do you think produced this stat line? 19 for 30 attacking, only 2 errors, well above 15% efficiency, 50% efficiency, 2 blocks, and 5 aces for 26 points in a 3-set match. Guess the stat line.
I'm gonna have to guess big boy Adis Lagumgia.
Ding ding ding. What a monstrous performance by Adis Lagumgia. Just absolutely insane. Straight up untouchable attacking and 3 aces in a row to win it in set 3.
He was lights off in this one. I had to go back and watch the highlights on online because they were ridiculous. I do have to question F.A. Byram though. You just got slapped by this man, and I know you guys are boys, and I know you guys grew up, but then your Instagram post is being like, always a good time to see big boy, and like, you know, I've always looked up to you. Like, do you think he had like stars in his eyes seeing Lagumgia? I mean, I know they're both Turkish national teams, but did you do you think he went easy on him? Because Cisterna, like on one side, like great, Modena's back, Lagumgia is and like this is peak Lagumgia to me.
He can never play better than that. He'll never play better.
Beaten up on a lesser team, you know. Like I've yet to see Lagumgia stand out in a big match. You know, beating Canada at the World Championships doesn't count.
We were pretty darn good against the U.S. in the World Championships.
He was, but underdog, right? True, like he's the type of guy I think he's going to thrive against the teams who are way worse than him. and he's going to thrive against the teams that are way better than the team that he's on. But I don't know. Like, he just hasn't proven to me if he can get it done when it matters with the meat and potatoes. Because yeah, he was like absolutely lights out in this one. But on the other side, Cisterna is a team that, you know, we were talking about being at the top of the table at the beginning, and now they've fallen, you know, with three losses in a row to 3-3. You know, quick dive from the team from the Rome region.
Totally. And I hammered that during the broadcast, is that I think that a decent amount of their fall off since that hot start is now 6 matches in for a lot of these teams, even 7 for some. There is data. There is data. There is scouting ability now with large enough sample size on all these teams that teams with really good preparation ability, like a Modena with their support staff, can game plan against you more than they could in matches 1, 2, or 3 of the year when nobody knew anything. I really think that matters, and I think that's a decent enough reason why Cisterna has dropped off a little bit. Also, why on earth are they starting with Jose Miguel Gutierrez at outside hitter instead of F.A. Byram? I was very confused by that, and Ronnie in the chat, Ronnie Cuban Spike, who knows this kid, called him the Cuban Jake Haynes. And I thought that was pretty funny.
Really?
and a pretty
Ronnie.
Yeah, Ronnie called him Cuban Jake Haynes.
Because when Gutierrez was in the juniors, he was the guy.
He did not mean that as a compliment, by the way.
No, I'm well aware, and I remember talking to, because I remember when commentating him when he was like U21s. They used to come to play, like they played up in Canada for a few events. Now I commentated those matches, and he was the guy. He was jacked, and he like Lopez Magarejo, like whoever was on his teams, like no, like Gutierrez was the man. And I remember seeing him in Gatineau and being like, whoa, where's this guy been? I haven't seen him in years. And talking to Ronnie, apparently he hurt his shoulders, but he used to be the guy. But I agree. Why aren't you going with Byram in this one? Like what's going on?
That was weird. Yeah, Gutierrez played like trash, hit negative efficiency, and got benched. So, I think
I was just going to say, it's bad when Rinaldi scores 9 points on you in 3 sets.
That is the last thing that I wanted to bring up, is that I thought Tommaso Rinaldi was pretty good. 7 for 11, no errors, passed the ball well, and his only weakness this time was serving, which, according to Tommy Blizzard, who's a huge Modena fan, that's the opposite of how Rinaldi usually plays. He usually serves well and hits the bic well and passes and hits on the left like trash. I thought Rinaldi looked good. He did his job in not losing Modena a game. And if he can do that, and Lugumzia can play like that, man, you never know. But that stat line, 26 points in 3 sets, is completely ridiculous. It's almost 9 points a set. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely nuts. But yeah, this is what we expected from Lugumzia. Now I want to see him do it in March and in April, because he's kind of been non-existent in those times, usually with injuries and such. So this is classic early season Addis for me. Let's see how he does in later on.
Moving right along, a couple more 3 dongs to get to in Italy before we move on with the rest of the world. This one was a little bit disappointing. I was hoping this match would be closer, but Trentino beat Monza 3-0, 25-22, 25-20, 30-28. So close 3 sets, but a 3-setter nonetheless. Your boy Arthur Schwartz got in there just a little bit. Stephen Marr was attacking just fine. His passing numbers were not good. And Trentino started Donovan Zavaronok in a revenge game against his former team, and he looked pretty good. Gave Daniele Lavia the day off, and Trentino, turns out, is a really good team again. Who knew?
Yeah, I mean, for me, as you said, I was a little bit disappointed with Monza. They just didn't have that click and that spark that they've had in the past few weeks with wins over Lube and Piacenza. But I also think that in terms of Monza's a really gritty team, and Trentino isn't necessarily a team that you can break down with their grittiness because of how good they are on the ball everywhere. And how systematic and clinical they are with their breakdown of throughout the match, right? That, like, to me is like, there's no better team systematically and within system and that plays under a system than Trentino. You've got 7 guys even past that who are all bought in and they work together so well, right? Like, you've got some of the greatest, and this is why they're one of the best teams in the world, is because you got some of the best players in the world, not necessarily the best, right? No one in their position except for maybe Lushniak and Podraskinen, but even then their days are behind them. Like, no one in their position is the best player in the world, right? If you look at compared like to the Lubes and the Perugias and even the Modenas. But the way they work together is so good. And I just don't think the grittiness of a Monza can really break through that. And that's why Trentino is so consistent.
That's a really, really good take. I think polished is a great word for Trentino. Polished and really
Polished. Yeah,
polished
I like that.
and in their system. I mean, we talked about the three outside hitter thing that they've run and the real identity they've developed in the past couple of years. And now, more recently, it's been less of a three outside hitter system. Matej Kaziski is playing true opposite for this team.
Bro,
He's
this
lined up.
dude,
He's lined up
angels of
across from
wonder.
totally lined up total across from Ricardo Spertoli, where last year it was Lavia who lined up across from Spertoli, and Kaziski hitting almost exclusively on the right side looks awesome. He looks
And
awesome.
it's best case scenario because this dude isn't playing national team. He hasn't played national team for the past few summers. You know, he's just chilling like a villain, you know, sipping wine, Aperol spritzes in Italy, go back and hang out in Bulgaria a little bit, maybe, you know, hit up the Amalfi Coast or whatever in the summertime.
Wait,
And
wait,
then
are you talking about a professional athlete that actually has an off season?
I know it's impossible in
No,
volleyball, but you know, if you don't
no,
play national
no
team,
way.
that's
I don't
that's
believe
exactly what
it.
that's exactly what happens.
Imagine it
I,
being able to elongate your career significantly without playing 12 months a year.
who
Who
knew?
would have guessed? What's Robert Landy Simone been doing for the past 5, 6, 7 years before Kibo let him
Yeah.
back in? Why is he one of the best players in the world at age 34? Interesting. Very
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, but yeah, like this guy is just going out there. He doesn't really have to pass anymore. Does you know? He just gets to be a banging right side, and that's kind of like his bread and butter. He's a high flyer with a good arm. Let him swing away. You've got Lavia and Micheletto, who both are fantastic all around. They play good defense, have good ball control, pass well. Like, yeah, you've got a three-hitter system, but it's much closer to a conventional, like, two left sides and a right side right now in
Yeah.
Trentino, and it's working for them.
Yeah, it is. And I like the way that you identified Monza as a gritty team. I think they are, especially having
Look at
turned over, they've turned over setters already this year. I think Jurgi Grozer is the definition of a gritty right side. And I think that Steven Marr can really be a gritty guy and fits in well on this team. Same with like a Davi Skiba character.
Skiba as well,
Totally
too.
a gritty
100
character.
percent. Even Zimmerman, they're all guys
Yeah.
who play at that
Yeah.
top level and aren't necessarily viewed as like the guys.
Yeah.
You know, maybe except for Grozier now, but let's be
Years
honest. Like
ago.
everyone years ago, yeah, everyone sees him as past his prime. So it's just a good collection of guys, and I'm excited to see how it happens. Maybe you might want to start like putting Arthur Schwartz in the middle sometime. I don't know how that works. You are missing a little bit in the middle.
I don't think they have the foreigners to do that. I think
I haven't really looked at that, but yeah, I don't know. Monza for me is a thing that like for me, the race between them and Piacenza and the past few years has been those two just like duking it out, especially because they've been switching players and every which way it's a little bit of chaos. But Monza just kind of takes like the hard nose approach. Piacenza takes the I'm going to pay a lot of money and people are going to underperform for me approach, and they kind of meet somewhere in the middle. So that race between those two, and now you bring in Modena, who's kind of falling. Those three teams maybe add into Milano. That's a good group, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, take a look at the standings again. Monza hasn't done themselves any favors. I mean, they started 2-4. I know they lost their starting setter. They lost Cachopa to an ACL. They had to bring in Jan Zimmerman late. Then they made a little bit of a pushback. They still have some climbing to do in the standings, but I think that's a good comparison between them and Piacenza. Monza way more likable, way more fun to watch. I think that's.
And I mean, the end of the day, they're what, a game behind Piacenza. They're 2-4. In ninth place, Piacenza's 3-3 at fourth. So like, you know, we're talking about pennies that are separating these teams at this point in this season. And I suspect that like that's what my feeling was watching the games this weekend, that everything was starting to settle down. Guys are starting to get into the groove after a long international season. They're getting the groove in the pro teams. And I think things are going to start to, you know, even out a little bit. And I mean, Perugia is Perugia. They're just going to keep on trucking.
We had a question before we move on. How was Grozer? He was great. 17 for 35, only 2 errors, plus an ace in the block. Like that's an awesome attacking stat line. So he's certainly not the problem. Passing was the one thing I can point out in the stat sheet that was the problem for Monza this time. But even though this was 3-0, they really didn't lose this match by much. So I think they're going to be fine. We just talked about Piacenza. Speaking of Piacenza, they very, very cleanly 3-0'd in hour and a shower fashion Taranto on Saturday. This is the only match on Saturday. 25-16, 19-23. Eric Lepke was fine. 7 for 14 attacking, no errors, plus an ace and good passing numbers. But that was it. Nothing else I have to say about this.
To me, I think this was more about Piacenza. Like at the end of the day, Piacenza just has the firepower to make it difficult for everyone, and it clicked a little bit today for in this one on Saturday for them. I still want to see them do it against a good team. Beating up on Toronto is, I mean, Toronto. I'm not going to get like Stephanie and Lepke. They're looking pretty good, but I mean, with Leao, Lucarelli, Romano, Brizard, like this is a team that should be fighting for the Scudetto. Exactly, absolutely. So they kind of got into it. They kind of got into it a little bit in this one. So that's good for them.
Piacenza had 71% kills as a team. That's as high as I've seen in a very, very long time. And they only set Robert Landry-Simon 7 balls because they only needed 2. Must be nice.
Yeah,
I think that's it. That's it for that match, right?
Yeah,
really anything else to say.
That's exactly. That's about it.
Cool. So let's stay in Italy and look at the Italian Women's League. It's about time we pay some attention to the Italian Women's League. The Lega Femminile is back. They've got a little rebrand going on, like a league-wide rebrand. They've got a new logo. They've got a very much redesigned website. As I was navigating it today, I was struggling to find things. But
I know I'm still working through it here.
Yeah,
there's stats.
Their stats are a little bit scattered. There is like a proper stat report if you know where to look. It took me a while to find it, but
okay. Can you share it with me, please? Because I still cannot find it.
It's in our notes document. At least one of them is. But you got to be very careful. You don't need to go down the path of FIVB caliber stats. That gets pretty rough pretty quick. But they're about 5 games in. The Lega Volley Femminile. Most teams have played 5 games at this point, and basically no surprise. We've got 3 undefeated teams in the league. That's Novara, Conegliano, and Monza. They're the 3 best teams in the league from last year. They all 3 had great off seasons. Conegliano without Paola Egonu still looks great. Novara looks great. Monza needed 5 sets to beat, I think it was Perugia, like a very mid team. But other than that, they look great. Chieri has been a pleasant surprise at 4-1. And Scandici, wanted to talk about them as well. Also 4-1. More importantly, Zhu Ting is back. Zhu Ting started and played a full match. Zhu Ting started a match against Pinerolo, and they're terrible. They're 0-5, but she was great. Went 15 for 34, passed the ball reasonably well, only made 2 attacking errors, and it's great to see one of the best players in the world back out there. It's been too long since we've seen her.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I was ever like she was rumored to go to Vakif Bank at certain points last year, and I was even wondering if we're ever going to see her again.
Yeah.
But the fact that she's come to the best league in the world and it hasn't taken her that long to get going again, very interesting. Very interesting. Man, like on the men's side, you've got Perugia and everyone else, but that run at the top on the women's side, now you've got those 3 undefeated teams. I think there's more there who are going to be able to compete for it too. This women's season is going to be very intriguing so far, and I think it hasn't really gotten going yet, but I think we're going to hit it soon.
Yeah, and I mean, you and Tommy Blizzard did a great preview on the whole Lega Volley Femminile, so go check that out if you haven't already. But a whole lot of transfers, so many transfers, so many. I'm still trying to keep up with them. I'm still just remembering that Haley Washington plays for Scandici now, for example. As I look at that stat sheet, Scandici's issue to me is the consistency of Ekaterina Antropova. I mean, she's the girl at opposite this year. We know her story.
She's going to take some time.
She's going to take some time. 9 for 30.
She's
this
young.
One with 8 errors. Like she's young. She's going to take some time. But that team will go as far as her level of consistency, I think, can take her. Because when you have 2 outside hitters like Zhu Ting and Elena Pietrini, they can easily punch up there with Monza, Conegliano, and Novara. Talking about Scandici. And I mean, everybody else is basically where you and Tommy kind of placed them in the preview, with the exception of Busto or Sizio. They do not look good so far. 1-4.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of questioning Busto's lineup when I brought them in. I mean, they haven't really been playing Carly Lloyd that much, and other than that, you got Rosa Maria on the right side and Lena Stigrot. But yeah, I don't know. I wasn't too impressed with that whole collection of players. For me, it's more so I didn't think Chieri was going to be as good as they've been so far. And they've been fantastic so far at 4-1. That was not a team that I was expecting to be great. And the other team that I was expecting to be a little bit better would be Firenze with Britt Herbots on them. Only 2 and 3 so far. I would have expected Herbots to kind of help that team move up a little bit.
I think that's a pretty good take. I mean, it's still very early in the Lega Volley Femminile season, but Firenze, I thought had a pretty good offseason. It hasn't quite shown up so far. I'm looking at Chieri's roster again because I know Ali Franti's not there anymore. But who did they bring in? They brought in Olivia Rozhansky, the Polish girl who I really like.
Yeah.
They still have Kaya Grubelna. They still have Bosio Setting. They still have Weitzel in the middle. They still have Mazzaro in the middle. Like I remember liking this team last year. But I think 4-1 has got to be a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think, yeah, I'm just looking at their results so far. And they haven't really played anyone. Their one loss is going to come to Conigliano. Like they played Casalmaggiore, they played Cuneo, they played Macerata, Conigliano, and Firenze. So yeah, they haven't really played anyone that's two out there. Getting the win over Firenze, I think, is really, really good to put them at 4-1. But they're still missing some of the, they're not playing any of those top teams just yet.
Right. And I mean, there's season's very early. There's a bunch of teams in the league with 14, so 26 matches in the regular season is a lot. Let's see before I move on what's coming up this weekend. There's a question in the chat. Are we really sure the Lega Volley Femminile is the best women's league? And you got to preface this is coming from a Turkish fan. So, I understand that the Turkish league is really good, and we're going to talk about it in a minute, I promise, because my critique of the Turkish league the past couple of years is the bottom of the Turkish league is terrible. Way worse than the bottom of the Italian women's league. But I think the middle tiers of those two leagues are more competitive this year than in the past. So maybe there's an argument there. Let me look ahead at the anything good this weekend. Let's see. Ooh, Conegliano versus Novara. That's tomorrow. That's a bang.
Ooh.
That's
what
awesome.
Time is that at? What time is that at?
2:30 p.m. Eastern. That's a banger. That's like it's a rescheduled one from round 9. Must be to adjust for either Super Cup or Champions League. Not sure which, but that is a huge one. So I'm looking forward to watching that tomorrow. Other than that, for the weekend, not much. Novara versus Chieri is okay. That's about it.
Yeah, I mean that'll be Chieri's first real test, and I suspect Novara to drop Chieri down to 4-2.
I would agree with you. Let's move on. Let's move on to the Polish league on the men's side. So the PlusLiga is going on at all times. There's all sorts of matches. There were 2 full rounds of matches played since the last show that we did. And you can look at the standings here. Everett, there is now only one undefeated team remaining in the PlusLiga. It is Jastrzębski Węgiel. The JW looks right now like the best team in the league. They are now 4 points clear of second place. They did play a Asseco Resovia head-to-head. We'll talk about that match in just a minute. But there's a lot going on at all times. But now, finally, 8 matches in, one team has risen to the top.
I'm going to pull this one on you. Whose stat line is this?
Ooh,
114 points, 14 aces, 7 blocks, 63% kills, and 52% efficiency.
On the season?
On the season.
So hit me with those numbers one more time.
114 points, 14 aces, 7 blocks, 63% kills, 52% efficiency.
Okay, I'm using context clues. I'm going to go ahead and guess. Is that Stéphane Boyer's stat line?
That is Stéphane Boyer. 2 years ago, he was playing in Qatar.
Dude, what a start.
Stéphane Boyer.
His resurgence is so cool to see because he's so freakishly fun to watch. I mean, all the top 5 clips that we got from Ottawa were all from Stéphane Boyer when we saw him there playing for the French team. And he's insane. And like I've said, JW, as good as the team they're going to be, they need Stéphane Boyer to be the guy. And so far, he is. He looks great.
Yeah, he does look great. JW looks great, and I don't really see anyone in that league really fighting with it. Zaxa isn't the Zaxa of past. Resovia, they just took town, and they're not looking fantastic. Olsztyn, not looking great either.
I don't know what's going on with Olsztyn. I wanted to talk about
Zavici, like I don't know. I think right now this looks like a one pony race for JW, but I have to say, like, in years past, it looked like it was going to be the same for Zaxa, and they haven't got the job done. So it's still early, but JW looking good.
They look great. Zavierce not quite as good to start the season as maybe we thought. Zaxa's lost a couple weird ones. A couple matches I wanted to go over with from the last week before we dive into Yashemski versus Resovia in more detail. You mentioned Olsztyn. I in our preview with Adanos on the PlusLiga season, I was really excited about Olsztyn. They've got Taylor Averill and Josh Tuaninga. They've got good wings all the way around. They've got Karol Butrin. What is up with them? They got 3 donged by Gdansk, and that was not very impressive to me. They're sitting in 10th in the standings right now.
I don't know. I haven't really seen them play at all last year. I was a big fan of Olsztyn last year. Something about that Taylor Averill, TJ DeFalco, whole mix-up they had going on. But it's just not really working for me this year. It's just I can't really put my finger on it. I would have to watch them some more. But to me, Tuaniga's always been like a guy that can bring a team together, just the way he runs that offense. And when you look at the guys that they have on this offense, to me, the only you have Lipinski and Karlichek. I don't know. Everything's good, but everything, everything on paper. On paper, they're supposed to be good, and that's all I'm judging off of right now because I haven't watched them for 1 second. But yeah, on paper they should be good, but I really don't know. Do you know? I don't know.
I don't really know either.
Do you know?
Yeah, I don't know. The eye test just doesn't look quite like the names do on paper. We talked about Stal Nissa starting the year pretty well. I mean, they were very close to getting relegated last year. You see them in 4th. They did lose a head scratcher to Luke Lublin, who has Dustin Watton, Nico Scherzen, Jeff Jendrick, a couple familiar names to North Americans. So that was a bit of a weird one. Since the last show we did, we had Resovia versus Zaksa head-to-head, and Resovia smoked them 3-0. Wasn't overwhelmingly close. I know Zaksa was missing a couple guys. David Smith didn't play. Eric Shoji didn't play the whole match, but Resovia looked great in that one. But that brings me to this match of the 2 teams that at the time were undefeated and only one can remain. JW beats Resovia 3-0. Set scores were, let's see here, 26-24, 25-23, 26-24. So it was a banger, and I watched this match. It was really fun. Resovia put themselves in positions to win, especially in sets 1 and 3, and unfortunately choked both of them away. JW looked great, and unfortunately, I have to give credit to a certain Jan Hadrava, who came in and really contributed. I think he had an ace to win the match, if I remember correctly. It was either an ace to win it in the 3rd or the 2nd set. So he came in off the bench, which he should be good at doing. Hadrava is a guy who's great at coming off the bench. Came in off the bench in a double substitution, ripped an ace to win it. So good for him. Stefan Boyer otherwise was awesome, 47% efficiency. Tomasz Fornal was great. Yuri Glotter was great. And on the Resovia side, just not quite good enough.
You know who I'm very underwhelmed with on Resovia?
I think I know who you're going to say.
And it's clearly not a good fit. And I think we all know why. But that's going to be Jakub Kukanovsky.
That's exactly what I thought you were going to say.
5 for 12. 5 for 12. He's hitting at 25%, only 42% efficiency out of the middle. This is a dude who used to see hit like 70%. And it is just not working out right now with Drizga. I just don't think Drizga's lazy setting. I'm just gonna go out there and say it. Drizga is like a DeCecco wannabe without the skill. You know, if DeCecco had no skill and no hands, he'd be Drizga. And Drizga is just kind of fat, kind of drunk most of the time. I know for a fact that he may or may not have got kicked off the national team at some point because of that. But he just doesn't, he just I'm trying to think of a comparison.
Well, you nailed it. It's Luciano DeCecco without the hands, without the skill. You absolutely nailed it. I mean, flashback to the World Championship, right? When I, on this very show, ranted so hard that the USA didn't do enough to defend against Jakub Kochanovsky, going 15 for 16 or something absolutely insane. And here he is going 5 for 12. What's the difference? The man who's setting him the ball. And we talked about this coming into the year. Me and Adnos talked about this. We've been saying for years that Fabian Žižka will put a ceiling on any team that he's on from his inability to set the ball to the middle and forwards. The only ball he can set is behind him for some reason, and they've been playing a backup opposite, this Jakub Buicki character. And
doing all right. 9 for 13.
Yeah, he's fine, but I mean that's the weakest attacking position on your team because you have three great outside hitters and you can't even play all of them, and then you have to bench Masia Muzai on the right side, and that's the only ball that your setter can set. So this is the I know it's only one loss, but this is the Rusovia thing starting to come and do Rusovia curse sort of things like we see year over year.
100%. And I mean, I think Resovia is almost kind of like a Piacenza, but not in the same way, where they're just going to throw a lot of money at the players and they just don't have the systems in behind. Because to me, like, why do you have a guy like Thibaut Hassal just sitting on the bench? You know, everyone saw the magic that TJ DeFalco and Thibaut Hassal did 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever, when they played at Vivo together, and that was magical, right? That was a team that finished fourth in the SuperLega in the regular season, then lost in the quarterfinals in a tough quarterfinal matchup, right? But now, like, you know, the Bang Bros aren't able to play together. And I mean, I know you have Chabul out there as well, but give Rasa a sniff. You know, do something out there because it's just clearly not working together.
They definitely have problems with the foreigner limit doing that, but I mean I think you can go ahead and say that Rosovia is the Piacenza of Poland or the other way
100%.
around. I think
Absolutely.
they're very similar in that way. But again, credit to JW. They look awesome. They are on top of the standings in the PlusLiga right now, and they won a Champions League game earlier today, which we'll talk about in a minute. Before we talk about Champions League, I want to talk about this. Speaking of the Turkish Women's League,
What is happening?
Dude, what is going on? What is going on? Fenerbahce comes out. They beat Vakif Bank for the Super Cup. They 3-0'd them, if I remember correctly. And then they promptly turn around and get 3-donged by a Jajabasha. And Tiana Boskovic was unbelievable. 25 points. Let me pull up the full stats. Where's her full stat line? 22 for 33. 22 for 33 attacking with 4 errors. It's 67% kills plus 2 blocks and an ace. I mean, this woman has not slowed down. She is absolutely gnarly. And Fenerbahce just falls asleep immediately after winning the Super Cup. I'm confused by the Turkish Women's League. I mean, it's still very early, but like you were saying earlier in the chat, I mean, like Galatasaray is good, THY is good, like the middle of the pack teams are kind of good, but this is very surprising. Very surprising.
Well, I mean, you've got Fedorovtseva, who's going 6 for 20, went out there with 2 unforced errors and getting blocked twice. You know,
Yeah,
if your best player doesn't show up to that level, then, you know, yeah. And like, one thing I have a massive amount of respect for Tiana Boskovic is the fact that she's like, I don't know about her contract situation. A couple of not great years with Exasabashi, and she's just stayed there, right? There's never been any rumors about her moving on. There's never been anything like that, but she's just been kind of standard and just stuck with that team. And you know what? I've got a lot of respect for that.
Berkay Kuchuk in the chat makes a good point. Ajaja Basha isn't playing with Hande Baladin and Saliha Sahin at the same time anymore. And I think maybe that does help. Yeah, Irina Voronkova is the other outside hitter, and she went 10 for 20 with 1 error. So if you can't find any production out of Turkish outside hitters, how about you play a foreign outside hitter? Imagine that.
I mean,
so that worked out for him.
Imagine that. But yeah, I mean, you know, we want to go back to that conversation between what's the best league, Italy or Turkey. And yeah, Italy has the consistency all the way through, but this top end in Turkey is absolutely disgusting. Once we get to the point of the playoffs, semifinals, and even quarterfinals and past, like, it's going to be disgusting. And you know that Turkish teams are going to just be sniffing. They're going to be sniffing for a Champions League title. Like between Eksasabaji and Fenerbahce and of course Vakufbank. Can they go 1-3?
Yeah, that's 3 gnarly teams in Champions League. I don't know about 1-2-3. I don't know about that. I still think Corneliano Novara are good enough to compete. I think that one of them could or maybe will make the finals. We'll talk about that more as Women's Champions League starts in about a month. But yeah, the top of the Turkish league is gnarly, and I'm looking forward to seeing Tiana Boskovic and company back in Champions League after a year playing CEV Cup kind of randomly. So anything else about?
Oh, I didn't know they are in CEV Cup. You are right. Sorry, I was
no. Azaja Basha is in Champions League. They played CEV Cup last year, which was
right.
Yeah, they kind of fizzled out early in CEV Cup last year, which was weird because I guess they lost a 3rd place series the year before, but they're back in Champions League where they belong, and I expect them to do pretty well. Okay, speaking of Champions League, should we talk about the Men's Champions League because it started today?
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Funny that,
Let's
man.
let's just jump into that for sure.
So the Champions League is back, boys and girls. There were Champions League matches played in the fourth round today. So the fourth round is the main round of Champions League. If you want kind of a baseline on Champions League, me and Eric Shoji did a great preview of the season a couple weeks ago here on this YouTube channel. So go check that out. So we won't talk about all the pools that much. We already kind of went over that, but there were two matches today. Yashemski destroyed Novi Sad from Serbia 3-0. Absolutely no problem, no surprise. The other one that happened today was a lot more interesting. A Pool B match between the Berlin Recycling Volleys, who make it to the playoffs every year in Champions League, and Haybar Pazardzik of Bulgaria went 5. And Berlin had to win. And Berlin had to win the fourth in overtime to even get it there before winning 15-12. I admit I did not watch this match. I watched most of the JW match earlier. Everett, did you see this? What happened here?
I did not see this one, but Jacopo Massari going off, absolutely off in this one. And yeah, I'm honestly gonna have to go back and watch this one and see, because I didn't see it. I just saw the score as we were prepping for this game. It does kind of reaffirm my whole question mark on Berlin this year, though.
Oh yeah.
Like, just looking at this Berlin roster, you've got a lot of quality through it, but is it a Champions League level roster? Is this a lot of roster that you're going to take to the, to the quarterfinals or the round of 16 or whatever it may be? Like, is this going to be a team that you're going to get at a pool with? I just really don't know. When you've got like Halkbank and you got Zavirchi, and who's going to be the other team? Oh, it's going to be
Pazardzik,
yeah.
who they played today, yeah.
You know what? That's like, you're going for 5 against Pazardzik, and you still got Halkbank and Zavirchi. Like, Halkbank, let's be honest, is a really, really good team. We're gonna talk about them, I'm sure, a little bit later on with Namir and Micah Maa. And then Zavirchi is one of the top teams in Poland. So I don't know if Berlin can barely handle the top team from Bulgaria, how are they going to do with teams from Turkey and Poland?
That's exactly what I wanted to bring up, is that I think Pool B, as we just got a point in the chat, each pool has a clear winner other than maybe Pool B. I agree. Pool B is the most stacked pool top to bottom. And Eric Shoji brought it up on the show. This was even when we did it a month ago. This was even before Haybar Pazardzik had qualified for the fourth round. But Eric projected correctly that they would qualify, that they would be in this pool, and that they would be a difficult out. And sure enough, Pazardzik usually is kind of a team that has a bunch of much older former Bulgarian national team guys. So talking like Todor Alexiev on the right side, or on the outside, Teodor Salparov at libero, Viktor Yosifov in the middle, Dobromir Dimitrov setting. They have Simon Hirsch, who's a German opposite. Like this team has recognizable names. And if you're Berlin and you can't even take a full 3 points against your 4 seed in your pool, you have really hurt yourself in making it out to the playoffs, because the Zavierci match and Ankara matches will not get any easier.
Yeah, no, I just look at this Berlin roster, and it's good. I mean, I like it overall. I like it for the German league. Like, they're going to run through the German league, and especially since Friedrichshafen is looking. But like, what you've got Trinidad De Haro dishing the butter. You got Namia Mote and Anton Brem in the middle.
That's a good middle duo, but that's kind of where it ends for me. And I like Marek Shotola on the right side, but the outsides, like Ruben Schott was good today. Timothy Carl took a million swings.
27 points though.
Yeah, it's a lot of points. 22 for 36 is a pretty good performance. But like,
it's just, like Marek Shotola and Timothy Carl are not high-level international players.
No, they're not.
Like, they're not international players even really at all. So I think that's an issue. Like, if you look at back in, like, the heydays of Berlin, and with the rosters that they had, like, that's a little scary. This is a team that's talking about going into the PlusLiga, like, right now with this roster. Come on, be serious.
Yeah, that's insane. So speaking of Champions League, so those 2 matches happened today. We've got a bunch more going on tomorrow and Thursday. So every men's team is playing this week, all 20 of them. A couple other matches that pop off the page. I mean, Lube plays Benfica from Portugal. That's a beatdown. Durin, the Power Volleys Durin from Germany, plays Ziraat Bankasa Ankara. They're probably the best team in Turkey. Well, either them or Hawkbank, one of the two.
Hulk, I'm going to give that to Hulkbank for sure.
Yeah, Xerox, the reigning champions. That league's actually really good. We should talk about them more. But that match might be good. Perugia versus Ljubljana will not be good. Neither will Zaxa versus Karlovarsko. But a really good one. Talking about Pool B, Zavierce versus Honkbank Ankara on Thursday. Namir and Micah Ma'a versus like Uros Kovacevic, Bartosz Kfolek, like that David Konarski, that whole crew. That match is going to be really good.
Yeah. I'm just excited that Champions League's back. I know it takes a little bit of time to get going again, but there's just something about Champions League that's just it just
Champions
soothes
League's
the
so
soul.
awesome. Champions League's so awesome.
Soothes the soul. Absolutely.
Noon Eastern Thursday, Zavierce versus Honkbank. And I also think that Friedrichshafen versus Montpellier is going to be a good match as well. Pool A. That's Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern.
Brutal in the French league.
They've been rough from the
like,
French league.
Can we talk about this like curse that's going on? You've got Cannes 2 years ago that wins the French league like outright, and then they got relegated last year. Montpellier wins the French league last year, and now they're in the bottom of the league. Like, what is going on in France? What is going on?
A lot of competitive games, a lot of competitive volleyball going on in France, but
absolutely,
it's weird that the team that wins the French league just always tanks the following year, and especially like embarrasses themselves in Champions League. So we'll see what happens to Montpellier. We've got Tours versus Nacro Solare as well on Thursday, and then Trentino versus some Belgian team called Menin that I've never heard of. And we've got one Belgian guy in the chat who says Menin is, thanks for participating, tier, and will probably be the worst team in Champions League. So don't bother watching that one.
Okay, yeah. I mean, Menin was a team that, like, traditionally it's always Roselaire and it's always Masic winning the Belgium league. Menin snuck in there, and that's a year that they give another team to the Belgian league. So
it's because the Russian league doesn't have any teams this year, and I mean, Eric and I talked about it on the show. It obviously needs to be addressed that without Russian teams in Champions League, the overall field is weaker. Nobody would ever debate that. And so there are some teams in Champions League this year that probably don't belong there. I think Menin might be the most egregious offender on that.
Yeah, 100%. I would totally agree.
So one more thing before we move on from Champions League, I want to remind everybody of the format this year, because the criteria for making it out are different than they used to be. Because you used to have to either win your pool or be like the top 3 out of the 5 second place teams. Not the case anymore. Now there are 11 teams that make it out, which is weird, but it's actually kind of nice, because if you win your pool or if you get second in your pool, you advance automatically. And then there's one more team, the best ranked third place team also makes it out, and you seed it into a bracket that looks kind of like this, where all 5 pool winners get a bye, and the other 6 teams have to play one home and away series before that. So just a reminder that the bracket format in Champions League this year is a little bit different, and more teams make it out. So you keep that in your mind as we think about pool criteria and how things are going in pools, because no matter what, if you get second in a pool this year, you advance, whether it's like a pool B that's stacked or a joke of a pool like some of the other ones.
Bro, why can't we do things normally?
Hey, I kind of like this bracket. You give a bye if you win your pool no matter what. I think that's a good idea, and you get a couple more teams that make it out now. That'll produce some bad second round matches, but those first round series will probably be pretty competitive, and you just get you reward everybody for winning their pool. And no drawing of lots. That's the part that I like the most. I think drawing of lots is stupid. I don't like that there's randomness involved.
But then you have to show the girls in the bikini, pick it out of the ball. Like I sometimes think the CEV and the FIVB care more about the drawing of lots than they do
the actual
else.
events. It's by far the best produced thing they do all year.
100%.
By far.
The budget for the drawing the lots is probably a quarter of the overall budget for the entire event. So, yeah.
Yeah, so no more of that, no drawing of lots. It's just straight up ranked by criteria and by where you finish in your pool. So I like that better. Just keep that in mind. This is the case for both men's and women's Champions League this year. Speaking of CEV competition, Everett, another thing that starts tomorrow is the CEV Cup. So that's the second tier. It's CEV Cup men's anyway. The women's starts in a couple weeks. The second tier but European competition. They've been kind of battling out in earlier rounds for a while now, but there actually are some notable teams playing in CEV Cup this year that are going to be fun. Okay. And I think tomorrow starts the 16th finals. So I think there might be 32 teams left at this point. So it's still very early, obviously. I mean, it's November, but we've got 2 teams from Italy. We've got Modena and Piacenza. We've only got, I mean, those are both good teams. We've got Skra Belkato from Poland. They're a good team. We've got 3 French teams, all of whom might be better than the French teams in Champions League. That's Sète, Narbonne, and Chaumont. And we had 2 German teams in Lüneburg and Hersching, but Hersching already lost in the 32nd finals. So their CEV Cup is over. And then Fenerbahce and Arkas İzmir from Turkey are both pretty good teams. So just like it happens every year, there are usually some CEV Cup games, especially later on in the season, that are awesome. So just wanted to put that on everyone's radar.
There's part of me that prefers the CEV Cup and the Challenge Cup to Champions League. And it's mostly because I love those middle of the pack battles.
Yes.
I love watching Turkey versus France and Belgium versus Germany and those teams. Like we've talked about it before, that I just wish that we'd scrap Champions League, CEV Cup, and Challenge Cup and just meld everything all together and just rank the teams 1 through like 70 some, and then just have work your way up, and then tier it off into three different zones, because it's so much fun. Like we know what Poland versus Italy looks like. We know what Russia versus Italy like. We know what these top teams, because we see it every, like I want to see what the 5th place teams look like in every league. That's like, it's a team that doesn't necessarily have like Hersching and Lüneburg, like Lüneburg in the CEV Cup. I want to watch that. Like Durin's going to get slapped up in the Champions League, so that's not even going to be fun.
There. Can't
right?
believe they're there.
But Lüneburg in the CEV Cup, I think that's going to be a blast. The teams that are only used to be playing their own like league games and cup games. I love that. So yeah, I sometimes prefer the CEV Cup and the Challenge Cup to the Champions League.
Yeah, CEV Cup is cool. I think that Challenger Cup starts pretty shortly as well. I'm not sure. It might start tomorrow. Everything kind of seems to be starting tomorrow, or it might have already started. Let's circulate quick. Yeah, sure enough, there are a bunch of games in the CEV Challenge Cup tomorrow in the 16th finals. A couple Greek teams, couple very random small country teams. I don't know. Look that up for yourself if you're interested. But yeah, CEV competition, at least on the men's side, is back in full as of this week, and we've got about another month, and then the women will follow suit. So check all that out. CEV YouTube is the place to watch most of those games, or Eurovolley.tv is a subscription service. You can pay a couple bucks and watch every European game this year.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm seeing a lot of good stuff in here. I might just watch CEV Cup tomorrow. Screw the Champions League. Let's just watch CEV Cup.
Yeah, there's actually not that much tomorrow in Champions League that's that good. I would rather watch CEV Cup tomorrow and then watch Champions League on Thursday. So there's a lot of good stuff there, and then obviously weekend matches in Italy, Poland, all that. But one more thing, Everett, before we kind of take a whole look at the year and celebrate the anniversary of the show. Or this really is just kind of speaking of the anniversary of the show. We've got a very special promo on that volleyball.
Let's go.
Score.
Absolutely. Right. You guys know it. You love it. Or I hope you do. Maybe you learn to love it. But if you want to support Volleyball Source, you want to look good like us, head over to thatvolleyball.store for all your official merch. As you can see, there's a few new items over there. There's the one logo that we all know and love up there. I call it the "If you know, you know." Wink. We got some regular stuff trying to look like Nike. But at the end of the day, guys, it's been a year. We're still here. We're still kicking with 81 square meters of the best volleyball content online. So we're going to give you 25% off. 25% off for 1 week, 2 weeks maybe. I don't know. We'll see. I didn't put an end date on it, but you're gonna use the code. Use the code. I'm gonna put it in year one, all capitals, all one word. Year one for the code for 25% off of your entire purchase. Since I'm drop shipping this, I may actually lose money on this, but I love you guys. I want you to look good. I want you to support us. And it's been a year, and I absolutely love it. So come support us. Check out that volleyball store. If not, get a membership to YouTube. And if not, hell, just like this video, subscribe to us, comment, and maybe share it with a few friends. That's all we ask.
It's all we ask, and we're in a very celebratory mood as Everett and I cheers once again. It's been an awesome year. It's been just amazing that we started this show a year ago and how far we've come. I mean, Everett and I were talking earlier, like show to show doesn't feel that different, but when we look back on all that we've done, like being in Ottawa and covering world championships and like the growth and viewership that we've had and the response that we've gotten from all the fans and people in the Discord that love watching the show and that look forward to it every week. It's really rewarding to have gotten through a year of this, and we're just excited about the future and happy about celebrating what we've accomplished so far. So we love you guys. Thanks for watching, and head over to that volleyball.store with the code year1, a capital YEARONE, for 25% off. Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Rob, is it time?
I think it's time. I think it's time. I think it's time that we take a look at the year in review, as the 9x9's 1 year birthday is tomorrow. We had our first show ever on November 9th, 2021, and we put together this nice little video just looking back at all the great stuff we did this year. So we'll let that loop. We will end the show with this video. It's about 5 minutes long. The whole time I was putting it together, I was just smiling and laughing at all the great memories the whole time. It's really awesome, and we hope you guys like it. So we'll end the show with the video, and then the video will be up by itself here on YouTube as well very shortly.
You don't want to come back and see everyone's reactions afterwards? You just want to end it with that.
That's it. We're gonna end it with that.
Okay, sounds good. Oh, you add post Canada versus Turkey reaction. Oh no, that was a dark day. We're not going to go there. Okay.
That was a dark day indeed.
All right. Well, then, do you want to go first? I was just
I'll-
going to thank everyone real quick.
I think I already did that. I thank
All
the
right,
people. I
you
told
did.
them that I love them very much. Please send us out.
Well, I want to first and foremost thank Rob for agreeing to do this with me. It was like over a year ago. Then I was like, yo, let's do a podcast together. Let's start something regularly that something that we would watch. So Rob, thank you for you and everything you've done. It's been a fantastic year. I can't wait to see what's next. And guys, don't you fucking worry. This is just the beginning. But also thank you to all of you from the bottom of my heart. I love talking about volleyball. I love this sport. I love doing it with Rob, but mostly I love the community that we've built here, whether it's on YouTube or it's on the Discord. There's many of you who pop up on the chat and on the Discord who, like, despite never having met, and some who I have met, who I consider friends. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. We want to do something that speaks to what we think is the real volleyball fans of the world, those who actually care about the sport and the players that play it. And we love to see that there's a reaction, not only from, our own friends within our own country, but literally around the world. And that, to me, the fact that we've got people coming in the chat saying good morning, we've got people who stay up late at night, whether it's in Asia or in Europe. And then there's people who watch all throughout Canada, the US. It means so much. Thank you very much. And can't wait for what's coming.
We love you guys. Well said, Everett. I love you, buddy. Let's all watch this video together, celebrating the year, and we'll see you next week on the 9x9.
Cheers, guys. Thanks a lot.
And we're live. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first ever episode of the 9x9 show. My name is Everett Delorme, and joined with me, of course, is the one and only Rob St. Clair. Rob, how's it going?
Good, Everett. Welcome, boys and girls, to the 9x9, the volleyball show that you've always wanted and you didn't even know it. Welcome.
Exactly.
I had a literal shower thought, like taglining the show, like the best 81 square meters of volleyball coverage on the internet. So thank you guys so much for watching.
The main things is, at the end of the day, volleyball is volleyball. It's in the same 9x9 court, and the rules are the same. So we. Is that on the back of your shirt?
Yeah, it's on the back of the
You did. A little free shout out for you.
Once again, 3 boomers in a trench coat. That's all the FIVB is. 3 boomers in the trench coat. Well, how do we follow what soccer does, and how do we get us on TV? It's absolute garbage, and it's just another reason why the FIVB is just 3 boomers in a trench coat making random ass decisions that have no basis off of anything in reality.
I'll never get tired of the image of 3 boomers in a trench coat.
I mean, you just got 3 donged by a team that lost to Denmark. So you can go whatever and do whatever.
Just
But
got
yeah,
3 donged by a team that lost to Denmark. Put that in the 9x9 Hall of Fame right there. That's great.
And you have the reigning Olympic gold medalist playing at home. And you, USA Volleyball, the organization, this is on you. You're sending them to Shreveport, Bossier City, Louisiana? Get real, dude. What is... I don't understand.
Hey guys, first of all, I want to say I would like to thank myself, for offering you the opportunity to acquire some knowledge about the best national team in the world, which is none other than Cuba national team.
Yeah, they do it every year. Not that they promote it or anything, because, who would want to celebrate the greatest Canadian volleyball players that we have, right? Wouldn't want to celebrate that. No, wouldn't want to celebrate that. Guys, this is what happens when we go 0-9 in sets. I can't. Yeah, we're live. We're live on TikTok as well.
No.
Yeah.
What an opening.
What a
dude, Matthias Elser's not a setter. And I'm telling you, this guy is an outside hitter. He reminds me of a better version of Mikhail Kubiak. He is so skilled. He passes so well. He bomb serves from the ace line. He might hit one of the best Bic balls in the world, and I'm telling you, you're going to see this from my highlights.
My parents say that they don't like you, eh?
Yeah. Yo, we got to hear about this. So I'm Rob St. Clair. This is Stephen Marr, and I'm on his parents' naughty list.
that our flag was still there, even though Canada came down and burnt down the White House. Oh, say though that star-spangled banner yet wave.
Everett, was that the worst setting performance by Cuba's 2 setters combined? Was that the worst setting performance in volleyball history? Because I honestly think it might have been. It was embarrassing.
I mean, I coached a 16U boys team once that was pretty bad, and we didn't really have any setters. So other than that season where we finished last in the OVA, and actually Dan's brother was on that team. Hi, Liam, if you're watching. That other than that, then yeah, that might have been the worst setting performance.
Robert Landy Simon.
The
man had more points than attacking attempts this season.
Wait,
Not
what?
Prosa.
Wait a minute.
No.
Is that a real stat? He had more total points than attempts, so he had more aces and blocks combined than attacking attempts that didn't result in kills.
579 points, 570 attacking attempts. He was the best attacker on Blue Bay. He was the best server on Blue Bay. He was the best blocker on Blue Bay. He was their leading scorer the entire season.
Unreal.
From the middle.
Unreal.
Whoa.
If you're aware, the set is a little different. We're side by side. We're here together, and we are here